In Texas, the landscape is shifting. With only 11 days until Election Day, Kamala Harris's decision to campaign in the Lone Star State may seem unconventional, but she's strategically using Texas, known for its strict abortion laws, as a critical backdrop to amplify her message on reproductive rights and women's health. This issue lies at the heart of her campaign, which she highlighted earlier today, reinforcing a key theme for Democrats nationwide. The battle over women's reproductive freedom is central to the current election cycle. Harris has consistently pointed to Texas as ground zero in the ongoing struggle for women's autonomy, emphasizing how the state's leadership has challenged the rights of women to make their own healthcare decisions. Her speech in Texas tonight will not only address the impact on women across the state and their families, but it also underscores the national implications, especially for states influenced by Texas's laws. Texas has become emblematic of a broader conflict over personal freedoms. The state's restrictive abortion laws and aggressive policies against those who provide or even assist in abortions symbolize for Harris the threat to individual rights. Reproductive rights remain a defining issue, signaling to many that a leader is needed who will fiercely protect women's health and autonomy. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump, currently campaigning in Texas, has used immigration and border control as primary talking points. He has openly criticized the influx of migrants, recently describing the U.S. as a garbage can and blaming migrants for various national issues. His divisive language has drawn strong responses. Harris argues that the President of the United States should elevate the discourse by embodying the best of America, investing in the country's strengths rather than denigrating it. Trump's harsh rhetoric, which has grown increasingly combative, underscores a leadership style that critics argue prioritizes personal grievance over unity and stability. In recent appearances, Trump has also revived rhetoric around prosecuting those he believes have wronged him. His statements suggest he intends to pursue harsh legal action against perceived enemies, including political opponents, election officials, and those he claims were part of unscrupulous behavior in prior elections. His statements underscore a willingness to pursue personal retribution rather than focusing on unity, transparency, or democratic accountability. The former president's comments about punishing political adversaries have sparked particular concern given his recent remarks about Jack Smith, a Department of Justice special counsel investigating Trump's legal affairs. Trump has repeatedly referred to Smith in derogatory terms, suggesting he should be thrown out of the country. This rhetoric has not been widely condemned by other Republican leaders, signaling an uneasy acceptance among GOP lawmakers of Trump's increasingly punitive stance. Meanwhile, Trump's opponents argue that his fixation on past grievances and his willingness to wield government power against rivals mirrors authoritarian regimes. Harris herself recently described Trump as displaying fascist tendencies, echoing sentiments from high-profile former officials, including his former Chief of Staff John Kelly and General Mark Milley, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Both Kelly and Milley have publicly remarked that Trump's behavior aligns with characteristics of authoritarianism, raising concerns about his approach to governance if he were re-elected. In response, Republican leaders have called on Harris to tone down her rhetoric, citing past attempts on Trump's life and warning against inciting political hostility. However, they avoided addressing Trump's own consistent use of charged terms, such as labeling his opponents as fascists and regularly disparaging those he deems disloyal or critical of his administration. This selective condemnation has fueled concerns over double standards in political accountability. Harris's campaign stop in Texas allows her to draw attention to these high-stakes issues, from reproductive rights to immigration and democracy itself. She aims to emphasize her vision for a more inclusive and democratic America, contrasting sharply with Trump's more adversarial approach. For her, Texas represents a microcosm of nationwide issues: restrictive abortion laws, divisive immigration policies, and increasingly extreme political rhetoric. Her decision to be in Texas speaks to a larger strategy. While Democrats may not traditionally dominate in Texas, Harris sees the state as a critical point for mobilizing voters and influencing nearby battleground states. This strategic calculation aims not only at rallying support for a close Senate race, but also at creating a ripple effect that reaches across state lines to those grappling with similar issues. For many voters, the stakes are high. Trump's statements on topics like immigration and voter fraud, as well as his promises of punitive measures for those he perceives as enemies, highlight his willingness to leverage executive power in unprecedented ways. His comments about creating camps for migrants along the border and potentially deporting millions suggest a drastic and uncompromising approach to border control. These policies reflect a broader vision that has, for some, raised fears about the potential erosion of democratic checks and balances. The rhetoric around immigration has grown particularly hostile, with Trump often portraying migrants as an existential threat to American identity. While Harris acknowledges the need for reform, she condemns Trump's framing of the issue, arguing that it oversimplifies complex realities and alienates communities that contribute to the nation's fabric. Harris and her supporters advocate for a more humane, thoughtful approach to immigration, one that recognizes both the economic benefits and the moral responsibilities inherent in managing a diverse nation.